All right, it's the Pop Tower Podcast, a Emmy-adjacent series. I'm Peter W. Dawson.
I was trying to keep a straight face with that one, but I'm James Bullock.
And we're here today to talk about television and movies.
Yes.
No video games this week, but...
I mean, it's perfect timing, though. Like you said, we're in Emmy season. We have to talk about a little bit of TV.
Yep. And then, of course, we got movies, because I don't think there's any movies that ever come out in July, right?
No. What kind of person puts out a movie during the summertime? Especially an action-oriented movie.
I'll tell you, somebody with small ambitions.
Exactly. No hope.
Nope.
Will Smith, I'm looking at you.
I don't think I can't remember what the last Will Smith movie we got this year was.
I don't know, but he smashed the internet this year, so there you go.
Yeah, that's true.
Will Smith won the internet this year.
Yeah. Nick Cage is actually in town.
Ah, true.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to name drop that.
Yeah.
I met one of Nick Cage's producers.
Oh, man.
It's very much in the theme of Emmy adjacent.
Right.
Anyway. That's the whole reason I brought that up.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
But, so we're going to start by talking about something we put off specifically for the tie-in with the other thing we're going to talk about later, but we're going to finally talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5.
No, Peter, you're lying.
I am?
You are lying. Because you knew that there was a little bit of a secret relationship going on that nobody knew about, and you wanted to save this for the audio until the news dropped.
No, I'm not dropping that news.
Yeah.
I want that guy to get dropped. Not like in a physical way. I mean, just like get dropped from media.
Yeah.
No longer be a thing.
But he's creative and loving.
No, he's not. Nope. I'm not even going to let you finish that sarcastic sentence, James. No,
I'm just quoting her Twitter. I'm just quoting her tweet about it. That's all.
Oh, God. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stars Chloe Bennett, who
Yes.
is a lovely and decently talented actress, but she's dating Logan Paul. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Let's actually talk about the Season 5. So, Season 4 left off with a hell of a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Where our agents are fugitives, and they're just hanging out in a diner waiting to be arrested, and then a weird guy with sci-fi tech shows up, paralyzes them or freezes them or something. It's not clear, and I'm going to explain why this annoys me later on. But then, so they all get kidnapped, and then they wake up in the future.
Yes.
In space, no less.
In space, no less. That's the thing. Like you said, definition of a cliffhanger. This is insane.
Yep. Because this series has avoided going to space for so long. I mean, the closest they got was, they got on another planet, but it was a teleporter.
Right.
And then when they sent one of their ships into space, the people on it died immediately.
Exactly.
So it's like, you want to go to space? No. I still don't fully understand how they survived on that planet for so long when they did go there in season 3 there.
Yeah. That was very odd.
I know. But the show, as we'll get into with season 5, doesn't always have the best track record of explaining stuff they should probably at least give lip service to.
Yeah.
Because there's something I already mentioned. So, for those who don't remember, the team currently consists of Phil Coulson, who's of course still around and still awesome.
Yeah.
Melinda May, who is the most awesome and, if I may engage in this for a moment, one of the most attractive older women I've ever seen.
Very much so.
She's over 50 now.
Yes. You would not believe it.
It's all that Mulan money.
Oh, man.
That's gotta be it, right? The Disney bucks.
She's been bathed in a Szechuan sauce her entire life.
Yeah, we really shouldn't get into the Szechuan sauce thing. We'll be there all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's still kicking around. Then we got Daisy Johnson, who, for those who haven't watched the show since season 1, used to be called Sky.
Yes.
And she's now also got known as Quake, because she has awesome seismic earthquake powers. Gemma Simmons is still around. She's still adorable, and she's still awesome and smart.
Yes. And this time she's got a little bit more bold when it comes to fighting.
Yeah. Still not the most badass, but she's become more badass.
She's very admirable.
Yeah. Well, she's clever, and she uses it well in some fights.
Yeah, and there was one very distinct moment, I'm not going to spoil it, but where she just blew my mind with her idea of how to prove that she can live.
Yep. And then Mac is still around
Yes.
from who started in season 2. And he doesn't have his shotgun axe. What's
No.
he going to do?
But he's still a bad dude.
But he still has his girlfriend Yo-Yo,
Yes.
who's still got her very specific super speed.
Yes.
I just want to repeat this just because it sounds so weird to say. She has the ability to go super fast, but she in a single heartbeat, and she always has to return to where she was standing.
Yes.
Hence the name Yo-Yo.
Which actually plays also a big role in the twist at her character throughout the season, because
Yeah.
we find out that not everything can move with her when she does this.
Yeah, well, you know, you got to get your tick reference in there somehow.
Yeah.
I think you know what episode I'm talking about. We're gonna be vague on that though, because that happens partway through the season, so we probably shouldn't get into.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil.
We'll talk. Well, yeah, we can. There's plenty of stuff I think we can talk about without getting too spoilery. So,
yeah, especially for the fact that really this is a season of 2 halves.
Yeah, and like I said, like it starts with them in space, but you notice I didn't mention Fitz because we don't see him for a while, but then we finally do, and we find out what happened to him, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, we have a whole episode dedicated to him and his attempt to find his friends.
And that's a pretty good episode. I
That
like
was
that
a really
episode.
good episode. I was shocked because I was just kind of like going with the flow. Of course, we're going with the episodes in chronological order, and then it gets like to this episode where we jump back in time where they're back at the bar. And next thing you know, it's all about Fitz. And like I said, it's a really, really good episode. And Fitz's character evolution has been one of my favorite parts of the entire series.
Oh, absolutely. It's fascinating. But I wanted to. Yeah, so they're on a mysterious space trawler, and like I said, it turns out they're in the future because they realize that at the end of the first episode, that's kind of the hook for the season. Besides them being like on a spaceship, so I'm comfortable mentioning that. I don't want to get too much into spoilers, of course.
Well, I mean, the thing about it, they end season 4 literally on the spaceship. They tell you that hey, it's Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. in space this coming season. So
yeah, and that takes up a good chunk of the season. I mean, we'd eventually move on to the second part of the plot, but even then, it still ties into the first half.
Yeah, I believe what is like 12 episodes or so. It was just them in space. Maybe I know
something like no, because episode 12 is when they're back and they're dealing, and that's the 100th episode.
Oh, okay.
You know, the one that has all the reveals and everything.
Right.
It's like it's episode 11 is when they.
Okay, so literally the first half of the season is all of them in space.
Yeah, it's legitimately about half because
literally the first half, because it's 22 episodes.
Yeah, and the first 10 are in the future, more or less. I mean, obviously we find out what happened with Fitz because he didn't initially go with him, so
right?
That was the whole thing. And yeah, what happens? So you get a lot of paradox type stuff going on, which is neat. Like I love that. Like, you know, it's like, how do we make it so we don't screw up time, but how do we also change the future? You know, it's one of those things. And of course, eventually we meet a character who's this seems to be a descendant of someone we know,
right?
And then you get a bunch of other wacky characters in the future. And it's some that are really lame.
Yeah, I have to say, like, if my least favorite part of the season has to be the handling of the Kree.
Oh, the Kree are terrible.
Yeah.
Because the Kree are like some of the main aliens in this. I don't want to give in too much away, but like I said, they're in the future and the Kree are there.
Yeah, it's pretty much one of those things where, okay, not to spoil too much, but the fact is that humanity has to leave Earth. And the Kree step up and say, hey, we can help save your kind, but you have to pretty much be our slaves. And it's just terrible, because the Kree are just uncharismatic, and even the main villain that we see during this first half is just so obnoxious, and not in a good way. It's just like he is the prototypical, hey, if you're gonna have an arrogant leader who believes he deserves everything, this is that guy.
If you want to have a lame Kylo Ren who looks like Captain Disillusion. I did not like the makeup for the Kree.
No, not at all. No, it almost like something from a high school play.
It looked like something from 80s Doctor Who. They had no budget in 80s Doctor Who. They had bubble wrap that looked like it was supposed to be a force field. They had what looked like a series of Jolly Ranchers melted onto plastic that was supposed to be like an alien threat. And so it should not, a 2018, 2017 show should not make me think of the 80s and bad tech.
Right.
For God's sake, Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future had some better looking costumes than them at points. That is an obscure reference I just made. I went from Doctor Who to Captain Power. How do you like me now, James? But, like, the plot is still pretty interesting for the most part. It's just, we have to deal with all these really kind of flat characters, at least, especially with the villains.
Right.
I mean, they're still threatening, they just suck. Like, that's probably the best way I can put it, because, I mean, oh yeah, like, they feel screwed the whole time, like, 6 ways from
that
Sunday.
Was the thing, like, I had this entire feeling throughout the season, like, when am I going to get to a climax with somebody else? Because it's kind of like you just felt that these guys are just like a speed bump the entire time.
Yeah. That's really the thing. It's like, because they ended up basically being filler villains until we got to the real plot.
Right.
And the real plot was the one that was actually kind of interesting, because we had a lot of crazy stuff happen.
Yeah, because we had our favorite AWOL military agent showing back up in the end of the second half.
Which one?
Oh, don't act like you don't know.
I honestly can't.
I hate to spoil it, but our favorite guy with the mustache.
That guy. Okay.
Yeah, shows back off. And he
Sorry,
is crazy. He is crazy.
Yeah, no, he plays a pretty important role. For some reason, I didn't clue in that you were talking about him. I thought you were referring to someone else. I'm like, is he military?
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, you probably know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I got confused. No, this should make sense. Yeah. So this season gets crazy, but we finally get some conclusion on a few things, like, more Fitz and Simmons romance stuff after they get separated by time and space.
Yeah.
We get some validation on the Inhumans. We finally find out what the deal Coulson made with Ghost Rider from last season was.
Yeah, that was a very, very... it wasn't too shocking, but it was just amazing to actually see it finally play out.
Yep. And we also got plot convenient, friendly alien android things.
Yeah. The opposite end, there's something I didn't expect and I didn't really care for either.
Oh, you didn't like them?
No, I didn't really care for just like this Deus Machina kind of situation.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. Like, okay, so we meet this group. I don't want to get into too much about them, but I need to talk about one of the things they do.
Right.
They're called what are they? The Chronotons? The Crotons?
Yeah, I believe it's Chronotons, yeah.
Yeah. And they're kind of like alien androids in a way. Or are they immortals or something like that? They're not alive in a traditional sense, I believe.
Yeah, like they know they've been built, but they live almost like humans, but they can't die. It's weird. It's really weird. They can't die, but they can't die from age.
Yeah, they don't age really, which is the whole thing. So they have human suits, which is great. And this is something you see at the opening of this season. So like we're just kind of giving away a little bit of what this character's deal was, because we see a day in his life. And it's like, oh, he just drinks this one liquid, and there's child drawings of him not being human, and he takes off his skin to shower. It's all set to like this one relaxing song, and it's pretty great because like the actor who plays the main Chronoton, Enoch,
right?
Joel Stoffer. Like I hadn't seen him in anything before that I could think of, and he was pretty great.
Yeah, he was really good.
So like I liked him, but the problem was. Like, well, he played the character really well, because he came off, like, a little bit like an android, and he was kind of stiff, and he clearly has, like, this very specific set of principles that will frustrate humans, but he's not a bad dude.
No, not at all.
Although, obviously, he certainly seems like a bad dude, considering he's one of the reasons we're in this mess.
Yeah, initially, he definitely comes across as a guy that just really screwed up a lot of things.
Yeah, but the problem is the Chronotons, and specifically Enoch in particular, but because he's the main one, they come off as a bit of a Deus Ex Machina because they exist to set up the problem. They also exist to help the problem, but not fix the problem, just to get them out of certain problems.
Exactly.
And then be easily disposed of when they would no longer be helpful.
And that was like the main issue I had with it. It was just that it just felt lazy. It really did. And
yeah, like they should have had him stick around more. Like,
yeah.
And I would have loved more of it because their fancy tech, which the thing that whatever freezes them or whatever in the diner, we never fully understand how that works, which is annoying because they use it a couple more times, but it's like
and nobody
so
questions
they use
it. And of all the people, Fitz does not question it.
I know it's like we would have had a great bit where you can just like geek out over alien tech because it's like because it's implied it's like a sonic device, but then you see it from someone's POV and it's like nothing changed. So it's like, so did it like actually stop time? But it's like Sonic based somehow. Like, how does like even lip service would have been nice because it just seems weird in that respect. I'm like, this would have been interesting to get more of. It's like, oh no, we got to write them out now, so they're gone. It's like, well, thanks for that, I guess.
I hate to rag on it and like say speaking of lazy, but I have to ask you your thought. And this is not really a major spoiler, but it is very much tied to the end of the season. The tie-in with a certain movie that came out this year.
That was pretty phoned in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was disappointing.
Like it just came out of nowhere. It was a weird thing.
Now I want to talk about some stuff I liked about this season.
Though, yeah, definitely.
I feel like because there's more to like about this, and I think we've been letting on. Because like I said, the drama they were actually stuck in was still very real because they do seem screwed. And some of the new characters are actually, in general, fairly likable, or at least about what they should be. Like Deke, I actually kind of liked. I don't know how you felt.
Out of anybody, Deke was my favorite. Especially, it was a turning point in his character. Not necessarily the big one, but the second one where he gets exposed to a new, just pretty much a new realm.
Yeah.
And him geeking out over things he's never seen before was absolutely marvelous.
I love the awkward way he tried to flirt too. That's so relatable. Like the first half of the season, he's kind of annoying because he hasn't decided if he likes the heroes or not.
Right. It's just one of those things where he's thrown in a situation where he's telling everybody, it's kind of you gotta either play the long game or you do or die, and he's trying to make sure he lives as long as he can.
Yeah. And I gotta say though, I was surprised how much I liked them. I loved what happened with what's Dove Cameron's character?
Oh yeah.
Because I kind of love this because without giving too much away, she's like basically almost like the equivalent of a princess if you were to treat the villains as royalty. Like she's not. She's a villain's daughter, and she's been trained up to be all badass and everything and be like the heir to the world.
Exactly.
And then she meets one of her. She has like a boy toy, and how that ends? Oh my god!
But I also love the fact that she's this main villain, of course, and she's been groomed to be this like you said, this empress that will potentially rule the world with an iron fist. And she reveals very early that yes, I love Daisy. Daisy is my hero.
So that's another great bit. She's a fangirl.
Yeah.
Like her character design was kind of goofy because she's like black armored stormtrooper with chakrams.
Right.
But I mean, it is. You have to remind yourself, it's a superhero series, so I mean, there's going to be goofy elements. I mean, later on, a certain character becomes a supervillain and gets a costume.
Yeah.
And the costume was probably the silliest part.
Yes.
But yeah, no, she ended up, and what happens with her, and like this season in particular has probably some of the harshest deaths.
Oh well, this is one thing that everybody was kind of speculating when they had the time change. And they also say that they could get a little bit more brutal and barbaric, especially when it comes to deaths, since it comes on later now. And they definitely lived up to that hype this season.
A lot of brutal stuff happened to a lot of people.
Yes.
And I don't want to give away who this happens to, but
let's just say that limbs have been lost many a times in this season.
No, I'm not even. But I want to mention the one death that really shocked me with how hilarious and at the same time horrifying it was.
Okay.
I don't want to say who it happens to, but someone at some point, their head gets crushed, and you see it.
Yeah.
And the way it happens is so ridiculous and so hilariously horrifying. Like I don't think I've seen something that ridiculous since I want to say season 3 of Haven, where
Yeah.
the woman had accidentally made her husband explode just by touching him. Like it was literally like she touches him and then he's gone and then there's blood on her like instantly, and I'm like, that's it. It was like that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just like,
some real brutal stuff this season that I did not expect him to go that far.
I know, it's just, oh my god. And honestly, some of the payoffs we got at the end of the season, especially with the cheesier moments, were glorious.
Yeah, oh yeah, and not to once again spoil anything, but even I know they were kind of like at a position where they didn't know for sure if we are going to get a season 6, which of course has been announced that we'll get a. Well, it's like a half a season though. It won't be a full 22. I think it's going to be what, 13 maybe.
Yeah. It's almost certainly going to be the final season because
Yeah.
what happens is, well, the show doesn't get a lot of initial views. It is usually the most DVR show of the week, like
Yeah.
top 3. Like, top 3 is crazy hard nowadays, too. And it does pretty well overseas.
And this season kind of ended on that high note where you felt like, okay, if this was the way we're going to end the series, this is perfect.
Yeah, it was a very Joss Whedon ending, too.
Very much so.
People are happy, but there's also a lot of bummers.
But there's still that ambiguity that just leaves you like, is it going to continue? Well, if it doesn't, I'm satisfied with it. I've had a good ride with it.
Yeah.
But also another positive note, going back to May, how awesome is the fact that they were able to work around, just to show how bad she is, how awesome they were able to work around her having knee surgery.
Oh, yeah, because I'm trying to remember how her name is pronounced. Ming-Na Wen?
Yes.
I believe that's how it's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she had knee surgery, and so they worked it in, so when she first got sent into the future, she, like, it smashed her... No, didn't she teleport into, like, a ladder?
Into a pipe, yeah!
I was like, oh... So, like, that's what happens.
And she still was able
no.
to kick so much butt. It was great.
Yeah, no, it was solid. I was pretty happy with that. And yeah, like, the season ends with some pretty sweet imagery. So, I mean, you gotta tolerate some really stupid stuff, especially with the first half, just because the Kree in particular are so boring.
Yeah, and just obnoxious. I don't
Yeah,
care about
like
your
the-
family issues. I really don't.
This isn't Game of Thrones, man. You gotta tell it better than that. You gotta have at least one dude trying to sleep with someone who turns out to be his half sister because his mom knocked up someone else, and then there was a kidnapping and baby switcheroo, and now everyone's going to incest hell.
You know, I actually just scrolled down. I was looking at the episode list. I didn't even know the final episode of the season was actually titled "The End."
Oh yeah, I was gonna get to that. I know, it's like with Scrubs. Season 8 was called My Finale, and then they had a season 9 anyway.
And that's going to be the end. The season premiere of season 6 will be the end. Ellipses ?
Yeah, it would have been like, I don't even remember what they called the finale for Friends, but like it's like they called the second last season's final episode the one where the show ends, and then they called the actual finale the one where the show actually ends for real this time. That would have been good. But yeah, no, I'd still say it's worth watching if you've been a fan of the show up to this point. It's just, it's not the strongest season,
No.
but it's definitely not the weakest.
No, I think that it's like you said. We've been saying it's a tale of two seasons, really. It's two half of a season put together, and the second half to me is a lot stronger than the first.
Yeah.
But without the second half, without the first half, a lot of the second half wouldn't make any sense. So it did a very good job of tying it all together, trying to give you a satisfying ending. I'm a little concerned about season 6 though, because I don't know exactly where they're going to go from here.
I have some guesses, but I'll let
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't speculate here, because I've been right about some of my speculations lately.
Yeah, you have.
Like-
You really have.
Like, there's one, like, I was kind of right with what happened in this next movie that we're going to talk about.
Okay, let's hit it.
From Marvel to Marvel, it's time to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's a double Marvel day, what can I say? But, so, Ant-Man and the Wasp is, of course, the sequel to Ant-Man, which, that was 2014, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
No, 2015, sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
right. Because I distinctly remember watching Civil War on a plane in 2016, and it hadn't come out on DVD yet. So I was really happy that it was available on the plane because I was like, I want to rewatch it. And that was the year. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so Ant-Man and the Wasp is also a sequel to Civil War, essentially, because it specifically follows Scott Lang and what happened as a result of him showing up in Captain America: Civil War.
Exactly.
And for those who aren't aware, and we have to go into it, what happened was Scott helped Captain America's fugitive team of quasi-Avengers, the Underground Avengers, or whatever the hell they're called. The Secret Avengers. That's
the correct term is.
Secret Avengers. That was the term. They're essentially the Secret Avengers. And he helped Captain America because he's like, I get to help Captain America? Oh, that's awesome. So he was quick to do it. Ended up getting caught. Got arrested for violating the Sokovia Accords. But made a plea deal to be placed under house arrest for 2 years.
Yeah. And don't forget about probation. Probation for 3 more years.
Yep. It's like, well, good luck with that.
And then, and if he violates, 20 years minimum.
Yeah, that's rough. You can't be going around superheroing. What are you trying to do? Save people's lives?
Actually trying to help the world? What kind of person are you?
I know. Like, it's easy to be cynical. There's some genuinely interesting discussions to be had here. But 20 years, I'm like, dear God, really?
Yeah. No, like 20 years minimum, no less. So I don't know how much more you could do. Like, what would you do to add some more time to your sentence on that one?
See, we thought this was a superhero comedy, but it's clearly a strongly stanced film against the idea of mandatory minimums.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, the first movie actually has a pretty heartfelt thing about how hard it is for ex-cons to get work. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's definitely still some heart here in that respect too.
It's there, but of the Ant-Man franchise, I guess we're just really thinking about now that the comedy, I think, just makes you forget that just how serious of matters we're dealing with right now.
All right, I want to ask you right off the cuff, though.
Mm-hmm.
Better or worse than the original?
You know what?
I honestly want to say... go ahead.
I will say that it is not that much worse, but it is worse than the original. And it's one reason. It's one reason.
All right.
If this was the Wasp movie, I wouldn't feel this way.
Interesting. See, I actually thought it was better because I thought it was a little more focused.
Right. And there's a couple of aspects I really don't care for, especially when it comes to the opposite end, which is the antagonist. I think that's the real low point for me.
Really? For Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yeah.
I thought the villain was way better than it was in Ant-Man.
We had several villains. That's the problem.
and we only really had 2.
Yeah, and like the Ghost. I hate to spoil it, but the first villain we really introduced to, not the traveling band of bad guys. Like that was just unnecessary for me.
They were there to have actual villains.
They were there for car chases.
Yeah.
They were there for car chases in California. Yeah,
but they had a simple motivation. You understand what they were after, and they still had enough funny bits to give them at least some personality.
Yeah.
You look at
I didn't care for it. Now, I hate to spoil it, but Ghost, I did enjoy that villain. That was a really good villain.
Oh yeah, well, we don't need to get too much into it, but yeah, no, she's a much more sympathetic villain than she's definitely not the most sympathetic, I would say, but she's one of the most.
She's no Killmonger, but once you get the backstory to her character, it's a lot more understandable as to why she is the person that she is, and she has her moments. She definitely does.
Yeah. Well, because it's like with Corey Stoll's Yellow Jacket from the first one. He was just like, you exposed yourself to too many particles. You drove yourself insane. And he also had the mentor issues. I'm like, you didn't need to do both of those things. Like with her, you understand something horrible happened to her as a kid, and then more horrible stuff has happened, and she's also in a constant basic state of basically. She reminds me of what's his name, Scorpius from Farscape.
Okay.
Who's a character whose entire existence is basically his body trying to kill itself.
Right.
And that's pretty much what Ghost Steel is.
Yeah, her body's trying to get away from her, and she just can't keep it in control.
Yeah. She goes in and out and in and out. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because we should probably talk about the actual premise a bit more before we get into too much more with Ghost. Because yeah, because Scott did what he did, Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne, or not Janet, Hope Van Dyne. Janet's another matter entirely. Had to go underground because they were technically also responsible since they gave Scott his suit.
Right.
Which is government bureaucracy at its finest here. That's kind of BS. As a result, they had to go on the run. They were considered criminals, but at the same time, they're trying to understand the quantum realm since Scott managed to go to it and then come back.
Mm-hmm.
So they think that Janet,
is
Hope's
actually
mom,
still alive.
Yeah, and so it's them trying to rescue Janet from the quantum realm before the connection they have with her, because they get a connection with her without giving too much away.
Yeah, they had that moment. That was kind of a shocking moment because I didn't expect it to happen. And when I realized what was going on, I was like, wow, they did a really good job.
Oh no, almost everything they did with Janet is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, well, they forced the damn nickname again, and I hate how many parents in these movies have nicknames. Between Scott calling his daughter Peanut and Janet calling her daughter Jelly Bean.
Yeah, okay, the Peanut one wasn't too bad. Because, I mean, even with Scott's daughter, she's not on screen that much. But it was just like, Jelly Bean, Jelly Bean, Jelly Bean.
And it was like, stop. I don't call my nephew Russell Sprout all the time, even though that's my nickname for him. Like, you gotta have a nickname for all your... I don't call my niece...
You got to.
Like, I got nicknames for him, but I don't use them that much.
All the time.
No.
That just came across like that's what she wanted to she actually wanted to name her daughter. And her husband was way against it.
Hank's like, nope, we're not doing that. Yeah, it's like, so we're not going to call her Jelly Bean, we're going to call her Hope. All right. And
Hope
so Janet, as a result, she can feel a little space cadet at points, but she's also like the fun mom.
Yeah.
You know, she means well. She knows how to talk to kids, and that's why it's so awful that she disappeared, because Hank doesn't know how to talk to kids.
No, not at all. No, but you know what? One thing I give Hank credit for, and this is the thing that I enjoyed the most about Hank's character, he is the type of guy that when you're in the middle of a situation that involves you running from the law, there's no time for goo-goo eyes between the guy that likes the girl.
Yeah, he keeps calling them out on that. And I love, this movie really cemented how great they are at doing Hank, because he's likable, but he's also a dick.
Yeah.
And
especially when they
exactly
introduce Lawrence Fishburne's character.
Because they make a point that Hank has frequently pissed off his old partners, so he's got a lot of ex-partners, which he doesn't even like to call like an ex-partner. Like ex-colleague or ex-student, he's being all uptight and everything, and it's a very defined character flaw, and it's funny, but at the same time it's like, oh yeah, just like imagine having to live with this guy.
Yeah.
Although his condescension is on point. One of my favorite jokes is at one point Scott gets stuck tiny thanks to his malfunctioning suit.
Mm-hmm.
He gets in the car and he's only 4 feet tall, and he's like, hi. He's like, oh, you want a juice box and some string cheese? And Scott goes, do you actually have that? Because, let's face it, juice and string cheese are awesome.
I know, and then the fact that he has a little daughter that's probably that's her lunch every day. So once you start having a kid that has that, you start dipping into it too. So
oh, absolutely.
he's probably gotten accustomed to this.
I can't wait until I have a kid and have an excuse to eat s'mores again. Right? That's the dream.
Right.
Eat more pudding, just eat more pies.
Everything that they want, you can eat too. So.
Yep. I'll make them eat Brussels sprouts too, because I also really like Brussels sprouts.
Okay, yeah.
But that's just me. If they don't eat them, they're grounded. and then I eat them.
And then I eat them anyway.
Yeah, because I am worst father. But so as a result, Scott's trying to help them when they're fugitives while he's on house arrest, and it turns out Hope now has her own suit, and she is the new Wasp. And she has wings and blasters.
And she is awesome. Like I said, if this was... I want a Wasp movie by itself now.
Yeah.
I don't need. I thought Paul is great. Paul is absolutely great. Scott Lang's character is great. But Wasp was so good as an action hero. I actually want her as a character now, just her own movie.
Oh, she was great. Yeah,
she did such a great job.
She didn't have that overly manufactured, bob cut this time.
Oh yeah.
I had no problem with bob cuts, but it just looked so weird on her in that movie.
It just looked really weird.
It's like, look, we really want to make it look like comic book hair.
Yeah.
You might have done too good of a job. Again, no disrespect for bob cuts in general. Just saying that one looked weird. But, yeah, so they got to deal with all that, and while they're trying to find a way to save Janet before they can, they also run into Ghost, who has her own thing going on, and like I said, her backstory is pretty sympathetic. And then to factor it all in, Bill Foster shows up, played by Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh and, man, has he jumped off the sinking ship that is DC movies?
I don't think we're going to see him in another DC movie. Unless they do make another Superman.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, this guy.
Superman, the good one.
The good one. Oh,
where he's actually saving people like he was in Justice League.
Oh man.
Like, Superman the movie had so many problems, but like especially like compared to modern stuff, but they nailed the character so well.
Yeah, yeah.
But hey, it also had child abuse, so it wasn't all good.
There you go. But what this movie had is actually something even better.
Oh yeah, it had a lot of father and daughter relationships.
Yes.
They were all really well done.
The idea of poor Scott being stuck in house arrest and having to come up with these ideas to entertain his daughter.
I know, like I fully believe that could happen because when you're stuck at home all day, and they even like talk about like was he spend like 5 hours a day on his drums?
Yeah, he drums. He's taught himself how to play the drums. He's taught himself how to do magic up close.
Right, that's right. And everyone else is always amazed by his magic. Actually, that reminds me. One of the more awkward, but I think still perfect characters is what the hell's his name? He's the guy from Fresh Off the Boat.
Oh yeah. Crap. I know exactly. Who
Randall Park. Randall Park. That's
yes. I was thinking of his. I knew his name in the movie is Wu. I was trying to think of his real name.
Yeah, because I keep wanting to call him Russell Park, and that's not right.
Right.
Randall Park. I was close.
Oh man, the interaction between Scott and Wu was just fantastic. Right to the very
Wu is
end.
Like, Wu is this guy who clearly. He's like, he's not really a villain, but he's kind of antagonist because he's the FBI.
Yeah, he's trying to do his job, but he like takes so much pride and kind of, hey, you're under house arrest, and I have the authority to make sure that you stay here, kind of deal. He's a jerk about having power, but he's not really a bad guy though.
No, like he genuinely is like, whoa, that magic's pretty cool. I want to learn that.
yeah, I love the not to really spoil anything because it's not really that big of a deal, but just a little interaction they had at the end where he's like, I'm gonna see you against Lang, and Scott's like, well, where are you gonna see me? And it's just this is back and forth of them trying to figure out like how would this work out.
and it's like Wu actually seems to kind of like Scott.
Yeah, and then after like by the tail end of the conversation, Wu's actually trying to figure out how we can make it like a day of it. Like, hey, we can go out to lunch.
yeah, grab dinner. Ride one of those combined bicycles while eating ice cream. And then having whatever the heck that song they played at the end of the movie was.
Yeah.
Hello, it's a sunny day or whatever.
Yeah.
I can never remember the name of that song, but you hear it all and like it was used perfectly because like the music. They didn't use too much licensed music in this one, but when they did, it was on point.
No, they definitely picked and choose on that one, and it worked out well. But I have to say that overall, it was one of those things. And it's funny because, of course, all of these are comic book movies when we're talking about anything with Marvel or DC. But this was like one of those movies that actually felt like it was pulled straight out of a comic book, and not in a bad way at all. It just felt like it had like all the perfect set pieces. Like if you were looking through a comic book, you would see like each point with the dialogue bubble. Like it was just perfect. That you would say this is the perfect example of what a comic book movie should be.
Well, yeah, and it enhanced the bits so well with the visual elements.
Right.
And was it Michael Pena managed to once again make his character, who's thankfully less of a stereotype this time.
I wanted to bring that up too. Oh man,
yeah.
The truth serum sequence. Easily
That's one of my favorite.
One of my favorite parts of the entire movie, if not one of my favorite parts of any movie I watched this year.
It's funny because it doesn't go anywhere because he asked the because he misunderstands the question, but it's such a good callback to the first movie and it's so well done. You don't really care, especially because they enhance how that previous movie went,
right.
and they even make fun of Hope's hair from the first movie.
Yes.
It's they kind of spell it out and everything, and it's because Luis was an interesting because in the first one because he was very kind of stereotypical,
right?
As were his other two dudes, and they're still kind of stereotypical in this one. They were still ultimately decently noble characters.
Exactly.
They didn't want to mess with the cops, but I mean they're ex-cons. That's absolutely understandable. They were willing to go help until it looked like they had no way to help, and then
right.
let's just go the other way. And Luis in the first one, he punches a guy out, and he's like, I gotta make sure I save this guy.
Right.
Which is way better than some other sidekick characters get. And now in this one, he's the closest thing we get to the stereotype is the fact that he's still got the horn for his van that plays like cucaracha.
Yes. And
the only reason that's there is because it was in the first movie. So otherwise he's pretty fleshed out. What is it, the Ukrainian or Russian guy? He's back.
Yeah.
And he has a pretty solid joke this time. The first one he was stereotypical Eastern European stereotypes, including being afraid of gypsies.
Yeah.
And this one he's only got one, and it's actually funny this time because he talks about Baba Yaga. I'm that's solid. And yeah, they got their own subplot. It's pretty good. Yeah, but poor Walton Goggins, man.
Oh.
I still like this character to a degree, but they needed more to work with.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was it. It was just that was the real only flaw when I came to it. It just felt we got to throw a kind of a human set of criminals in here just for the sake of it's for me it was just for the sake of having these incredible car chases because
it wasn't just that, but
it really was. I mean, the climax really was a car chase for that.
Yeah.
That was the sequence.
Oh, no, they're the main reason the climax goes the way it does. Because you have the chaos of our heroes, Walton Goggins' gang, who are just arms dealers. I mean, that's basically all you need to know. It's understandable. Yeah, that's all you really need to know. It's they used to do deals with Hydra, but since Hydra's gone, they're trying to, find new avenues to work with. I'm okay. I mean, it still would have been nice to learn a bit more about them so they weren't so one-dimensional, but I mean... It's because they're not even up to Ulysses Claw standards from Black Panther.
Right. Well, that's a very good example.
Because they were better done.
Right, but even with Claw, they disposed of him almost halfway, 2/3 into the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it just kept going on and on. It felt like this should have been the first boss battle.
Yeah.
And we should have gotten rid of them. Maybe a third of the way into the movie, and then just moved on to the real stuff with Ghost and everybody else.
Potentially, but I mean, it helped give not only have them have cars they could destroy in the finale, but it also gave them a way to reward the ex-con group because they tie into taking these guys down.
True. That is true.
For kind of phoned in secondary villains, they were still more important to the plot than some other ones I can think of.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I really didn't think about that, the part where they actually tied into the secondary characters actually having their moments too. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some payoff for them. I will totally agree that they're still the weakest part of the movie. But I don't think they're as bad as you might think they are. They're still great.
Right, no. I mean, they're average at best, but after saying that, yeah, you're right that they do actually add something to not just the overall plot, but the actual secondary characters to give them something a little bit more.
I think they're better than the Frost Giants.
Oh my goodness!
I think they're better than the Frost Giants.
Hands down, I will agree with that. Wholeheartedly, I definitely will agree with that.
They're not up to Claw and his gang.
No,
especially because because they ended up they got taken over halfway through or whatever, and that made sense. In this one, maybe if Ghost had somehow taken them over so that she
or,
still
or
had
just figure out
henchmen.
like how we can work together to
Yeah.
yeah,
That
would,
like
I think that would be a little bit better.
that might have been smarter, and it might have built more on what was happening with her character when she was bickering with her associate, who I don't want to get into.
Right, yeah, that would have definitely worked a lot better.
Yeah, like I don't know, like there's some stuff they could have done, but like I loved the dynamic of fathers and daughters in this one, because especially with Hank and Hope, Scott and his daughter, who's Cassie. Right?
Yeah.
I should know this because she's actually a comic book character. Like she's a hero in the comics. Oh man, did she get a lot of punishment in those?
Oh.
Scott Lang's getting so much more respect now than he ever did in the comics. I tell you. And then yeah, we also get Ghost and her father figure, and like those three alone are great. And then they talk a lot about the bonds between people. And it's like you need a partner, you need a friend, you need help, you need all this stuff. You can't just do it all alone. And you can't always just think about yourself. Actually, that reminds me. There's one other thing I didn't like in this movie.
Okay.
The part where Hope and Scott have a fight is really kind of dumb.
Yeah.
It felt rushed, which it kind of had to be, but it didn't feel logical.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that caused dissension to potentially have this great reunion. It was just felt so just tacked on.
Honestly, I like that part less than I do the just the generic villains.
Yeah, I will agree with that as well. Yeah, because that was just like that just kind of came out of nowhere, and then it was okay. You know exactly why they're doing this to lead up to.
Yeah, they had better chemistry in this one though.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Like, they didn't really have a lot in the first one, which was kind of the critique, where like he opens up the door at the end of the first one. He's like, when did this happen? And I'm like, yeah, that's actually kind of a good question. They didn't have a lot of chemistry in that movie. And then they had better this time, because I mean, Paul Rudd, I just love him as a leading man.
He's such a great job.
He's just so on point. Like he can do action now, he can do drama decently, like he can do pretty much anything now.
He can pull it together very well.
And considering how much he hasn't aged over the years, we've got him for probably another 60 years.
Yeah.
He might be a vampire. For goodness sakes, he's 49. He does not look 49.
He looks like he's still in his 20s.
Early 30s, maybe?
At the earliest, it'll be early 30s.
Yeah, like he does look believable as having a daughter who's like 10, if that.
Yeah.
But she's got to be like 8. How old is his daughter? Because I think the actress has a... I'm going to look that up. Abby Ryder Fordson, how old is she? She is 10.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, she's probably like 10. Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, she had one of the best gags in the movie, because like it's such a cliche joke, but like at one point when her mom and her stepdad, who don't get a lot to do but are much more likable in this one because they're not in any way, they're just kind of like fine with Scott now.
Yeah. Even Jim is the husband.
Yeah.
The fact he actually hugged Scott was actually kind of heartwarming to me.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Because like he was kind of a stick up the butt in the first one, but
right,
he was
right.
genuinely good. He's very much like Wu in the first one, where he was kind of an uptight dude, but you realize he was genuinely a good dude.
Right.
And it's like the same thing here with Wu. Yeah, in this one, like he does hug Scott, but like there's a scene where they're watching shenanigans happen on TV, and they're looking confused, and it pans down to Cassie, and she's got the best look on her face.
Yeah, it's like this.
Because she knows what's happening.
She's not only does she know what's happening, but like this is going to be me one day.
Yeah, that would have been good. But no, so like I really liked this. It was a great palate cleanser for Infinity War.
I don't know. It's weird because like same thing with Deadpool, where it's just hard not to compare it. And it's kind of like some days, like, oh man, it was just so much depth when it comes to the Infinity War that certain movies like this just don't have that same punch like they used to. But in terms of just sitting down and enjoying a movie, especially a superhero movie that actually has a little bit of backstory connection to it, being a sequel, of course. Unlike like The Incredibles 2, where it's kind of like a retelling, this was a brand new experience. It was a really, really good example to me of how a comic book movie should be done.
Absolutely. Like, there's this big mysterious element that they do a decent job explaining. I mean, they could always explain it more. Because, like, they go into the quantum realm more in this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Which they kind of hinted at the first one, but the first one they were focusing on the idea of Pym particles, and in this case, they didn't really talk about that. They talked about the quantum realm. And we got some Deus Ex Machinas through that, of course, but they were at least foreshadowed.
Yeah.
Kind of given some explanation.
Exactly.
So they weren't pulled out of nowhere. Like, they're always going to feel a little Deus Ex Machina-y, but they're not total.
Yeah, but like I said, at least they had an explanation as to why they believed this would work out.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it worked out pretty well. Everyone's performance was good. Like I even said, like I wish Walton Goggins had gotten more work with, but
yeah, but I mean, what he did was fine.
It was probably a better villain than the one he had in Tomb Raider.
Very much so. When I saw him, because I didn't even know, I'm so away from trailers and everything. Like I was like, I just know movies coming out that I'm excited for. And I'm just gonna watch it, especially considering no spoiler here, but actually the end credit scene is actually in one of the trailers. Like, I don't know why they did that.
It's in the commercials too.
Yeah, I don't know why in the world they did that. But like I really didn't know until like afterwards he was even in the movie, and I thought about it, I was like, man, why do they keep making him these generic villains this season?
Yep.
He's better than this, people.
He really is. Remember when he was playing like transgender sex worker on Sons of Anarchy,
right?
While also doing like all this other stuff. Like it was just like, oh, here's a bunch of interesting roles for Walton Goggins, and now it's just like, he's the villain.
He's a villain.
Okay, you want to flesh that anymore?
No.
He's a Southern villain. You want to just call him Tex Oil Man and just wrap it up then?
Just give him a couple of 6-shooters. Just call it a day.
I don't think he had a 6-shooter in this one, so kudos there.
Yeah, they didn't go that far.
No, he had the the nice suit with.
I said he had an affinity to white. He really did.
Yeah, oh, he did, and he hated the fact that his chandelier was getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Which was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a good spot. That was really good.
Yeah, like, he actually cares about property damage when it's his. But, oh yeah, and I want to say, for the mid-credit sequence, it's both less harsh and more harsh than I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
I was still kind of right about where it was going, but I was at the same time, I was like, oh, this might be worse. At the same time, it was probably better than what I had to, because, oh man, I had a dark idea.
Yeah.
But, no, definitely go see this if you haven't seen it. I mean, Marvel, again, continues to hit out of the park.
Yeah, 4 for 4 right now.
Yep, especially if you count Deadpool. But, I mean, we'll see if that continues, although, I gotta say, after seeing the latest trailer for Into the Spider-Verse, I actually kind of want to watch that now.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I don't know how much you've seen of it, but... Because it's going to be very stylized, and it looks really interesting. I don't want to get into too much on this in case people don't want to hear spoilers, even though I'm just talking about the trailers. But so we still got that coming later this year, and we got Venom.
So we'll see if Venom. And then, that's the last one until Captain Marvel, right?
I believe so. I don't think we're forgetting anything. But, we still got some DC stuff, because we also got Aquaman.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I'm forgetting something else, but...
in terms of, like, pseudo-superhero movies, you also got Bumblebee.
Don't you mean yet another attempt to turn Bumblebee into E.T.? Hey, it's okay. Bumblebee gets to fight John Cena.
I was
the
about
world
to say,
makes sense.
We're going to have the epic clash of a lifetime. This is the true
There's
Survivor
only one
series.
man that could take the Full Metal Mayhem Championship from John Cena, and his name is Bumblebee. Burr, 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 burr.
I'll sound like something from Robot Chicken.
But I think on that note, I'm going to thank you for being with me, James, as I once again descend into fever dream state by talking about a movie.